Welcome to the Market Mindset, your source for insights on mining, energy transition, precious metals, and market trends. If you like precious metals, critical metals, leading companies, and the future of energy, you have found the right place. Whether you're an investor or just curious, hit like and subscribe and notify so more people can learn about the importance of mining. And also, we've got a link to our Substacks below on X as well. So check that out. On our Substack too, we put a lot more. I'm writing daily in there as a blog, where I see just articles that pop up. I'm all day, all night. I'm watching video or I'm looking into the key themes. You know, I'm cherry picking stuff. And we're going to have some comment because JP Morgan came out with the de-dollarization report today. So it's nice to see them recognizing that this BRICS thing is happening, although they're much more cautious, you know, than some of the more extreme views out there. But we're going to get a better sense of that in the next couple of weeks as they meet in Russia. We're also going to list all of the company interviews that we're doing next week with Red Cloud at their fall showcase. I think we've got 22 interviews there. So we'll list it in our Substack. So if you see a company that you like, you know, or you have a question for, I can ask. So there's that. We may not be able to do, you know, these interviews are going to be like 5 to 8 minute long. But if there's something burning desire, I'm going to have that person in front of me, the CEO or the president. Let me know what you want to know, and we can certainly do that. Let's get into some of the fun stuff here before we hit more of the bigger numbers and the bigger themes. Let's talk Costco. This is a great story. Like when we look at Costco selling out of gold bullion, is it majorly impactful? No, but it's a great sign. It's a great narrative to show that in the West, there is slowly building up a recognition and physical gold is important. Never mind buying gold ETFs, but just the acknowledgement that gold is key. And they said in this article about 77% of surveyed Costco outlets that gold bullion bars were sold out in the first week, based on calls to 101 stores in 46 different states in the U.S. Outstanding. Now they'd be trying to work out their margins and hedging and whatnot, but you're going to be paying more, for that, than you're going to be at a bullion dealer, I suspect, unless they're getting a big bulk rate. But anyways, that conversation alone would be interesting to have with a bullion dealer. We're going to look to maybe get someone on. We're certainly looking to get Andy Schechtman on again very soon. We had a great interview with him about 4 months ago. He's great to talk to. I mean, this guy, if you want to know anything about bricks, about what's happening, he is on it like a hawk. He's just watching everything that comes in. On top of that, Ronnie Storfel, who writes In Gold We Trust, he was on an interview lately. I haven't spoke with him for a couple of years, but I reached out to him, and we're hoping to have him also on in December. So we're gonna have lots of great guests on that'll talk to us live stream. Just give you some heads up so that if you've got questions, that's great. You can ask them, send them beforehand. So we'll follow along with the gold trend here. And one of those good trends is the World Gold Council stated that 18.4 tons, valued at about 1.4 billion, flowed into gold-backed ETFs just in September. So that's a big jump. It's tiny. I mean, 1.4 billion really is tiny. It's not big numbers. When you're watching CNBC and you're looking at all these, NVIDIA, or you're looking at semiconductor space, or you're looking at even in the news today, they're talking about maybe breaking up Google. I mean, that's big news. Those are big numbers. So what's good about that is that that's news for a very small number, but that number can get very big very quick. And the recognition, and this is what the key is that you're starting to see these slow indications that it's starting to pick up here in all of the West. And that could have a significant impact on the price. And of course, that flows all the way down to the miners, as we've discussed before. But let's jump in, because this all ties together to an interview we saw here on Fox. This is actually quite interesting.
Let's bring in Independent Institute Senior Fellow Judy Shelton. So, Judy, this is a great survey that was done not long ago. And it says, we're households, Main Street. How do we determine inflation, right? Most of us use groceries and food prices. Then after that comes gold rates, gasoline prices, electricity. The last thing that we use to determine whether there's inflation or inflation expectation, expert commentaries, because we know they don't know anything. And so I thought that clip was perfect for this. But you've always talked about the bottom of this, right? You've always talked about groceries and gold exchanges, haven't you?
Well, I think groceries are probably the most personal index that people refer to, because then when they hear a government official or even Chair Powell at the Federal Reserve talk about wages having kept up with inflation, I think it comes across as, are you going to believe me or your own lying eyes?
Yeah.
Because they really experience the inflation when they go to the grocery store. And gold, that's an interesting one, because we now see people buying gold at Costco in massive quantities. And I think that that's kind of a link to reality for a lot of people. So gold is kind of a surrogate for the real economy, and in that sense, a link to reality for a lot of people.
Let's just stop there. I mean, it goes on, and it's an interesting discussion. And it kind of highlights what we say. I love the fact that they put down like influencers or commentary as the bottom. Listen, I agree with that. I throw myself in that whole lot as well, because I'm just here as a conduit to get you other experts. I've got opinions, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not. More of the time, I'm trying to get people excited and talking about a space or talking about different things. And at the end of the day, like, it's to encourage people. We're called the market mindset because we're trying to encourage people to be critical, to think critically about things. And of course, I've got a bias. I like mining. I see it necessary for the energy transition. But the commentary out there is so wide and varied, and it's very biased and it's influenced. That's why I always want people to know exactly what mine is. I don't think there's any mistake, but that also lets people know where my biases tend to lead. And also, we've talked on this before. If your head is really focused in, say on mining, or it's only focused in on AI, that's a lot of information to take in and to dedicate your day to. Never mind, you've got a family, you've got a life, you've got all these other things to do. Trying to take in other news about current events and just have some free time, that requires a lot of knowledge to try to stay up to pace with all of that. And to pretend to have an expertise in all those things is too difficult. So for us, we just want to be that conduit to start asking questions, to look at other experts out there that we respect, and not because they're just a commentator, like they're just they have to have a background. I mean, I came from Merrill Lynch and RBC. I've got a background in the markets. It matters if you've got a background, because you can point to experience in markets or in whatever field it is. If you're just a newscaster, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of just news is simply just you're getting someone else's message out and you're getting paid to do it. And for us, we want to be a little bit entertaining. We may not have quite as much depth of analysis for someone who's really high functioning in the mining space, but we're just trying to get people in the door and get them excited and to start asking questions. A lot of people know there's some outstanding, excellent advisors, consultants, experts, whether it's, Tavi Costa out there, who I personally love, Rick Rule, you name it. There's lots of competition as to who's great out there. We want to be a voice to help you get to some of those experts for whatever it is, whether it's silver, like we've had Chris Marcus on, we had Peter Kraut on last week, people that devote their time to one commodity that really help to educate you, me, everyone else. And that helps to formulate my decisions as well into where we're looking at whatever junior companies, what we're excited about, what we're interested in. And I want to bring that desire, that excitement to everyone because I tend not to be terribly optimistic when it comes to markets. I seem like a very optimistic person. Maybe I'm just a realist, but I do, for some reason, maybe because I'm listening so much to different viewpoints and the writing on the wall and being in the space for enough time now, that it looks like this could happen. It's about to happen. And when this starts ripping, like when the mining and the junior mining starts going, you don't even have to imagine any anecdotal stories from different runs they've had back in the 2000s or whatnot in the 1990s. You just have to imagine squeezing a decent amount of capital into such a tiny, unloved, uncared for market. It would drive things up at a stellar rate. Now, once again, it'll be a flight to quality, but you know what? It's definitely possible. I mean, no one has a crystal ball. I try to avoid that game, but it's certainly, there's lots of optimism out there. And with that, often what you see is the price of commodities go up. And this is a reflection that the world is starting to realize there's issues. There's very big debt issues. There's socioeconomic, political issues. There's a lot of fragmentation happening, and at the same time, we've got a energy transition that we joked about last week. We had Mr. Pasalacqua on from First Phosphate. We wanted to talk about is the EV story dead? And it was a great conversation. Even if you're not interested in his project or you don't follow that aspect, that's fine. We wanted to get a sense of the macro not changing. So if you look at BlackRock, you look at Goldman Sachs, they're not seeing any change, regardless of politics, of the overall narrative. There might be bumps in the road, but they're plowing ahead with a plan. So that might be disturbing to some because you think, it's an immovable force. And to my viewpoint, there's a lot of money to be made in that unstoppable force, and that unstoppable force can end very quickly without critical metals. So let's take a look at some M&A, which is a very good indicator, and there's lots of talking heads out there as well, but smarter talking heads specifically in our space who are kind of mentioning M&A is going to start to kick up here, and that's a good sign for us. We see Xinyan Mining Group has bought Arcadium gold project in Ghana from Newmont for $1 billion. I think as of December, the mine held 34.6 tons of reserves. The underground operations are expected to begin from 2028 and extend the life of the mine to 2042, and will deliver about 5.8 tons of gold a year. It's big for this mining company. It's also big for China. Let's follow along the gold story as well here. And, of course, we can't go without mentioning Barrick. It's been in the news a little bit, some good, some bad. We'll start with the bad, perhaps, and we'll look at Mali. So in Mali, the Mali government are claiming, well, let's just say their military government is demanding 500 million from Barrick in unpaid taxes and dividends. They audited mining contracts. They've changed some laws. They are a stakeholder in the project. I think it's called Lolu Guankodo mine. I'm not very good with the pronunciation, but with that, of course, Barrick says we'll give ongoing disclosure. They're being very diplomatic about it. They said it's without merit. This number is without merit. They've already paid 17 million last year, which they feel is fair, and they'll let the broader market know where negotiations are going. This I want to be careful with. I want to make lots of fun, wild claims here, but let me just say that this can happen in developing world very quickly. I mean, it happens in BC all the time as well. Once you find something, or it looks like there's an ability to change an existing contract for whatever, you've got political clout, you've got a social unrest, you've got a military coup, you've got whatever, that tries to get done. And it's, maybe just someone says that's the cost of doing business, is that if someone feels like there's an opportunity, they'll take it, they'll run with it, and we're kind of seeing that now. I'm not saying that gold mining companies are Barrick, they're angels or anything of that nature as well, but I do know from looking at the space for long enough, commodities and the history of commodities, it's usually the story we're told is the big bad companies. It's just as much the other side too, leveraging NGOs and environmentalist groups and you name it to get a better deal. And I guess you use the weapon you've got to aid you in the way that you want to get the result you're hoping for. And like what they say, all is fair in love and war. And essentially, when you're doing business in a lot of places, it's kind of like war. I mean, to some extent. I know that the new world is a bit more softer and kinder and cuddlier, but it also isn't. I think that's just the face of a lot of business. We certainly see that in big tech. One could never claim it's soft and cuddly and nice and gentle there. I mean, we saw from the Twitter files, I mean, just social media is littered with all of your spy agencies watching what you're posting and then, surveilling it, and as well as censoring it. So I think the reality from the face of a movement of the softer, kinder, the reality is still under there. But on the good side news for Barrick Gold, before I go rambling on about those things, they had a significant new gold discovery in the DRC. And that's one of Africa's largest gold mine, or one of the largest ones. This will obviously extend the life of the mine operations. This is an arc target 4 kilometers from the plant, has the potential to yield high-grade multi-million ounce ore body, further boosting the mine's production. And that's I haven't got the details as to what that's going to be, but it's significant enough for them to post on their own website. And that also with that, because it is the DRC, it's a challenging place to be, they're expanding the entire exploration footprint for both gold and copper there. But they're also really supporting local business, and they want to stress that. The mine has spent $2.87 billion with local suppliers and contractors, and supports various regional development projects, including sustainability, increased renewable energy, biodiversity preservation projects, like a white rhino relocation project. So these are things you never see in the news. You're not going to hear about any of these great things that like 2.87 billion is significant money to be put into local suppliers, contractors in the DRC. That's really big. And that's the good happy story, the smiley happy face we can put on mining, and we need to promote to get out there to show that there are companies doing the right thing. That's a big number for DRC, 2.87 billion. Give me your thoughts on that. Let me know what you think. I'm sure some people will rip into that and see, well, how much of that 2.87 billion is actual a local supplier contractor, or is it just a shell company of a major? Maybe that would be an interesting expose to look into. To me, that's someone else's job. I think that a lot of mining companies have come a long way in the last decades, not just to put on a clean face or a happier face. I would say almost all of them legitimately want to find cleaner, faster, better ways, more efficient, more effective ways to mine. And they are coming into a period of time, I believe, where the spotlight's on them and there's a chance to shine. And if we can show the face of mining, of being more precise, certainly up to speed with technology, I think that message then from governments, from tech, from you name it, because we see tech talking about nuclear all day long. And this is a kind of a foreshadowing. We're going to be talking about some of those tech people in mining deals. We need to show that instead of just using the buzzword ESG, is show specifically this is what we're doing. We're working with locals. We're hiring locals. We're increasing renewable energy for locals. We're putting all these initiatives in place. When people can see that, they think, oh, okay, that actually isn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. And that's a DRC. This is the most notable, challenging place to be. Also, we'll move on to silver before we jump into a totally different commodity here, but it's important and it's interesting. Watched a great video on Kitco. Of course, Kitco, I don't need to mention to most of you, a great source of video. They had Mitchell Krebs on from Coeur Mining, and they were talking about their $1.7 billion deal for Silvercrest. That makes them the largest silver company. So we'd be talking with some experts about silver. If you love direct silver, this is a big story to you. The stock is down a little bit. I mean, I think the stock is up like, oh God, let me see if I can pull it up here quickly because I don't want to hazard a guess. For the year, it's up 170%. That's pretty good. Now, in the last 5 days, it's down 11%. So it's down to $6. It had a high of $7.11 back here. $7.43 US. So right now, if you like the fact that it could be the largest, this is an interesting position to be in. So something to think about, but that's a big deal. $1.7 billion. That's a nice deal to be done. Let's get into some a little bit unloved, although in the news as well, as lithium. This is a bit of an interesting take. The U.S. government claims China is oversupplying lithium. And they're doing that. This was actually Undersecretary Jose Fernandez stated that they're producing far more lithium currently needed as a strategy aimed at countering U.S. efforts under the Inflation Reduction Act. He mentions that lithium prices have dropped 80% in the past year due to overproduction and decreased electric vehicle demand. I mean, China's done this before. I don't think it's go out on a stretch to say if you leave someone indispensable, if you leave a country that they produce almost all of your critical metals, it's hard to go into a trade war with them. When you tell them that you want to kind of wrestle that back and you want to take control, well, how happy are they going to be about that? I mean, this is leverage they've got. And we saw this with antimony. They put tariffs on antimony. We've seen them muss around with vanadium in the past. We've seen nickel prices collapse. Now, does that mean the story's over? And we kind of joked around about it last Friday. Like, is the EV story over? Of course it's not. I mean, will there be hybrid cars? Yes, there'll be hybrid. Will there be full electric? Yeah, there'll be different usages in different areas that make sense. But are we going to need lithium? Of course we are. This discussion from the U.S. is interesting. And I don't think it's because they're stoking fears. I think it's legitimate. I mean, this is how countries fight. They have trade wars. I mean, this is negotiations, just like anyone else, just like Barrick's going to have with Mali. They're going to have negotiations, and you invite the world and you invite people to to kind of pressure your side a bit, or you can get environmentalist groups to sing a sad song for you if you've got that angle, or whatever it is you need. And that's just how things work. That's just how it goes. One thing to keep in mind with lithium is there's a lot of lithium companies, a lot of projects, and that can be daunting, as well as there's DLE. We like DLE. We think it's really interesting. Alberta's got a couple great DLE stories happening. But on top of that, you've got the Salton Sea, that whole project. Bill Gates is involved and Warren Buffett's involved in a major DLE private company out there. You've got Exxon, them saying, "Hey, we've got a lot of drill holes and we've got a lot of brine down there. We're also playing around with the technology to see what can work and what cannot." I think it's a matter of time before we get real heavy data on the use case and the resourcefulness of it. We're already seeing in Alberta great numbers from different projects, which is wonderful. And with my little bit of knowledge of having talked to different analysts from Red Cloud and other brokerage firms, is that it looks like that DLE, that absorbent technology, might likely be geology bound and also then geography bound. So what works in Salton Sea may not work in Argentina, may not work in the shale fields down south, may not work in Edmonton and up north. So understanding that technology and absorbent will likely be different. It won't be just a one-stop shop. You could take a big plant, move it around to each hole. It'll be more regional. Maybe that's how it plans out. But that would give a lot of lithium. In the meantime, I think you want to be looking at projects that are near processing, near mills, that have near-term projects, because we're not going to not use lithium. I mean, it's down a lot, but if you can endure the pain, there's an upside. Same with nickel. Yesterday, big news. We looked at Rio Tinto. They're considering a bid for Arcadian. And we had an Australian investment fund come on. I think they're called Blackwattle Investment Partners. They have a long-term stake in Arcadium, and they came out immediately and said, "Oh, Rio's bid is opportunistic. They're undervaluing the company. This is a strategic critical metal. They're really kind of pawning off, which they should, this company because with a lowball offer, it's not fair, and we absolutely would not accept and we fully reject any offer below $8 billion US." At that yesterday, Arcadium was at 4.6 billion market cap. Well, today they accepted 6.7 billion. So that was once again good negotiation, good strategy. They really talked it up. Because if they'd come in for 4.6 billion and said, "Hey, we'd like to buy you," there's more on the table. So it was smart of them to come straight out very quickly and push that price up as high as they can. And they were obviously very thrilled. It took one day to meet that hurdle. So it's great. That's another big M&A deal that's getting done, and shows that this market is ripe, and there's going to be lots of companies that already have significant support by majors, whether it's gold and silver, that are going to be looking at really strong projects. And that's what we should be looking at anyway. There's lots of junior mining companies, lots of hopes and dreams, lots of, hey, maybe this drill hole will hit. But there's also a decent number, a good handful of really strong ones that are putting out good, strong numbers, and they might start attracting serious looks. It's going to be a very interesting fall, winter, as we lead into the likes of VRIC and PDAC, and to see if this market goes the way a lot of people are thinking. We're in for some exciting times. Now, I want to mention up two quick things. One is BHP has put out how copper will shape our future. It's their BHP Insights. We will have that on the Substack. We'll do our little insights on their insights. We'll break it down, just a little summary. If you don't want to read the whole thing, it'll just break down some of the key points. Because we haven't talked about copper enough here. Yeah, I think if people know me, they know we love copper. But precious metals is really getting attention right now. And that's why I want to pepper in different ideas, whether it's phosphate, which is very niche, or the lithium because it's unloved, and nickel's so unloved. And we'll wrap up, because this is quite the story, We mentioned KoBold Metals, oh my God, a year ago. And I hadn't heard of them, because they're private. And I kind of wondering, like, why aren't all these billionaires into, tech billionaires into mining projects? They must know that we need these metals. Well, they are. KoBold's previous investors include Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Jack Ma, Andreessen Horowitz, Breakthrough Energy Ventures. And they just announced that they found one of the highest grade copper deposits of the past decade. In the last 8 months, they raised about $481 million. They're currently valued at $1 billion. I think they're rushing towards a $2 billion market cap. They are, very, very strong in Africa. They've got a ton of projects. They've got a ton of projects. Obviously, a lot of strength, a lot of support, a lot of money. They boast that AI and other technologies are key to their strategy. Yeah, maybe. I think, I don't know if we're quite there with the AI and mining. I've heard other people talk about it, but it's data. So if you can summarize and crunch data, hey, it helps. And certainly they have the expertise. Look at that heavyweighted technology people that are involved here. And we did talk about like ant technology, which I'm not going to get into. We'll do a technology live stream maybe that, so a lot of it is secretive. People say mining is really like in the ancient era in regards to technology. But I think that's because a lot of the producers are very quiet about what they're up to. They're doing very cool and interesting things, which is hard to find out because it's proprietary. They don't want to share it. But also a lot of the juniors are really catching up, and especially technically proficient ones and ones that have great deals. They've attracted, a lot of the majors as well. They're able to use some really cool technology to help, once again, synthesize data, identify targets. And certainly we did an interview with Alistair Waddell at Inflection Resources. Their partner is Anglo Gold Ashanti. And that stock has seen the very big response because they just had a news release, and I think they went from 15 cents to 24 cents. And they're getting a lot of attention because, once again, people are just reminded of, oh, here's a small junior company that doesn't have to go promote itself. Like, it doesn't have to run out and tell anyone because they're fully funded with Anglo Gold Ashanti. So, someone may have bought that when that deal first came out and then kind of forgot about it because you can, to some extent. You go, oh, they've got a great partner. They're going to run their team. They don't have to go out and push videos and push all the stuff. In any event, it's a good tie-in with, KoBold. If you look at their website, that's a whole, we could spend a field day on that as to what they're up to and what they're into. And that's, if they hit a 2 billion market cap in the next 2, 3, 4 months, that's great. We have to remember, Germany alone has put together $1 billion critical metals fund. Saudi Arabia has their own fund. There's lots of money out there. It's just not getting to us right now. There is some, but Canada really needs a voice. They need someone that's out there pounding the pavement, telling the world that we want business, that will make permitting faster, that it is a pain in the ass, that we can do it properly, effectively, cleanly. And once people feel comfortable that we're open to business, like Australia is open to mining, I think that would be huge. We're a resource country. It would be a massive uplift, and that could happen. We're seeing, certainly, if the messaging that's being changed right now from most of the public, they're starting to understand that some of the policies that are being put in place in the last 8 years don't work. And we need serious change. And hopefully some of that change is a realization that if we want to be part of this energy transition, not only can we be a part of it, and it doesn't mean just, hey, let's stop using plastic straws. That's nice. Or I ride my bike to work, which, well, that's not really relevant. You can actually take a big step forward by investing in metals that are providing critical metals and solutions to batteries, nuclear reactors, solar farms, wind farms, you name it. That's where we could be not only just relevant, we could be arguably a world leader, if not one of the top, if we play our cards right. So that's my vision for the future for Canada, for all of us. And what does that mean for you? It means if you start getting interested, get a little excited, ask some questions, put your fingers into, an ETF of CME or whoever else that looks at minor companies, wherever. That's a good first step. Anyways, we love the comments. We love you guys reaching out. We really appreciate them. And we're going to have lots of guests coming on here soon as well. And if you're someone you'd love to see as well, let me know. I'll try to get them. We really appreciate all the support, and we'll see you on Friday.